It's a slow day here in Ormond Beach, Florida. Last week, I told you about two baits that work really well in the marsh. What I didn't do is give you a deep dive into each of those baits. Stay tuned, and we'll do that together. So here you're looking at both of the products that I use, actually all four of them. The first is on the left, the Down South Lures product. This is Chicken of the Sea, where C is just the letter C, Chicken of the Sea, and it's a 4.5-inch shad, soft plastic bait. The one on the right is the DOA CAL Figi, F-I-G-I, Chicken, and it's a 3.5-inch shad. You can tell that both of them have the same color patterns and look very, very similar. And I use chartreuse tails each time with each of those products. So now I'm going to show you how I rig those products. The first, the Down South Lure, I rig it weedless. And so this is their Chicken of the Sea product, and I rig it weedless. So I get a weighted hook, and I'll put all of the links to these products in the description below in case you want to use them. I use a weighted hook and I rig it weedless. How I do that depends on if there's a line attached to the hook or not. So I'll show you the first way where there's a line not attached to the hook. How I do that is I come right through the center of the bait here and out the bottom. And as soon as I get the hook point out of the bottom, I come right back out. That puts a hole in it, and I turn the hook around. When I turn the hook around, if I remember where that hole is, I can push back through and get the hook set. And that way, I don't have to bring the entire weight through the bait itself. Now, I just figure out where the hook is going to intercept with that bait. So I'll turn it around so you can see it. You want your bait to be perfectly straight, so it's about at this point right here where the hook is going to come through. So I mark that. And when I do, I kind of squeeze the bait to get to that point. I come up through the center of the bait at that point, and then the hook is all the way out. You can kind of tell that right there. And the bait is straight. Then you just push forward and kind of get the edge of that hook right there. So that's how I would rig that bait right there. And it's weedless. You can tell because not even your finger gets caught. So when I throw this in the grass and the snook are down there, like you saw on that prior video. I'll link to that video right here as well. That's how I can pull this through the grass and catch snook that way. Now, both of these baits you can rig weedless. You can rig them in that same fashion. I tend to use the Down South lure bait that I just showed you because you can tell the tail, it's really, even though it's a paddle tail, it's flappy. I don't know if that's a word, but it's flappier than the DOA CAL. And so I can pull this through the water slowly, and this tail action seems to be very high, even though you're retrieving it slowly, which I like to do when there's a grassy bottom in the marsh. Now, the DOA CAL Figi Chicken is a smaller bait, at least the ones that I use. But it has the same color profile, if you will. There's both of their tops and bottoms and the chartreuse tails. So it's pretty much this similar profile, although this Down South Lure Chicken of the Sea is a little bit darker. But I use this probably the most. In fact, definitely the most of any bait in my bag. And I like to use a black jig head with yellow eyes. Sometimes I'll use yellow and red, different colors, but this by far is my favorite jig head, and it's a DOA CAL jig head as well. Again, the links for all these products will be in the description. So for this, I do pretty much similar. I come through the top of the bait this way with the jig head positioned that way. Now these baits have a DOA spelled out on the back. You can barely read it, but I try to come up through the O, just like a target. So I just fish it around until that point comes through the center of the O. Then I know I'm perfect. Once it's like that, I kind of push the shad body up onto the locking piece of the head, and there you have it. That's how I rig this bait. It needs to be straight, and it is, and that hook point needs to come right out of the center, and you can tell it's right in the center, coming right through the O. I never even have to guess, because that's the perfect point from the hooks that I use. Very good. So there's your two baits. The one I use most of the time, an open hook jig head DOA CAL Figi Chicken, and the one that I throw when it's in the weeds is the down south lure. It's called Chicken of the Sea, and I use a weighted hook, a worm hook on that, and rig it weedless. Well, I hope these two baits work for you as well as they work for me. And as always, if I don't see you beforehand, I'll see you on the marsh.